Morning light streamed through the fractured stained glass windows, casting muted colors across the stone floor. Alias stretched, his back stiff from the uncomfortable hours spent leaning against the altar. Nearby, Kai sat cross-legged on the floor, absently sketching shapes into the thin layer of dust that covered the ground. The jar sat between them, inert once more. "It held," Alias said, more to himself than Kai. The boy glanced up, his expression thoughtful. Alias followed his gaze to the jar, its faint glow a stark reminder of the shadow's lingering presence. "We need to do more," Alias said. "The water beneath the church, it might weaken its hold. Let's try submerging the jar there." Kai hesitated, his brow furrowing. Then, with a resolute nod, he stood. Together, they carried the jar to the small pool beneath the church, its surface rippling faintly in the dim light. With careful steps, they lowered the jar into the water, watching as its glow intensified, then softened. The ripples grew stronger, spreading outward like veins of light. The moment the jar was fully submerged, a faint hum filled the air, and Kai gasped, staggering back. Alias steadied him, his heart pounding. "Kai? What's wrong?" Kai blinked, his lips trembling as if struggling to form words. Then, to Alias's astonishment, he spoke. I can." Alias froze, his heart skipping a beat. You can talk." Kai gave a small, tentative smile, his voice soft and unsteady. "Not much. Hard, but I can." A wave of emotion surged through Alias' relief, joy, and something deeper he couldn't quite name. "That's incredible, Kai. We'll figure it all out, I promise." Kai took a tentative step toward the church's threshold. For a moment, Alias thought the invisible barrier would hold him back as it always had. But Kai stepped through with ease. He turned to Alias, eyes wide with wonder. "I can leave." Alias grinned. "Let's see how far." The two ventured beyond the dead vegetation that had once marked the boundary of Kai's confinement. Step by step, they moved farther, the oppressive weight that had always surrounded the church lifting with every stride. When they reached the edge of the village, the air felt lighter, the world brighter. Villagers gathered as they approached, their expressions a mix of curiosity and warmth. Children waved, and elders offered kind words, their initial wariness giving way to genuine welcome. A young girl approached Kai with a bouquet of wildflowers, her smile radiant. "For you," she said shyly, holding the flowers out. Kai hesitated before taking them, his hands trembling slightly. "Thank you," he said softly, his voice clearer now. The girl beamed, skipping back to her parents. Alias watched the exchange with a smile. "See? They're happy you're here." "They're kind," Kai said, his voice trembling but clear. "I didn't think." Alias placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You belong here, Kai. They see it too." As evening fell, the villagers lit lanterns, their glow creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. Laughter and the faint sound of music filled the air as the community celebrated this unexpected reunion. Kai's usual shyness gave way to quiet joy, his smile lingering even as they began their walk back to the church. When they returned, the village lights glowed warmly behind them. The jar remained beneath the water, its faint glow a reminder of the shadow's diminished power. For the first time, the church felt less like a prison and more like a sanctuary. Kai stopped at the doorway, turning to Alias. "Thank you for everything." Alias smiled. "You don't have to thank me. I'll stay with you, wherever you go." Kai's smile widened, his earlier shyness replaced with quiet confidence. Together, they stepped inside, side by side. The quiet church now a place of hope rather than despair. Though the shadow remained sealed, its influence had waned, leaving behind a future that was theirs to shape. And for the first time, both of them felt truly free.